So as many of you know by now, PlayAsia has taken a bold stance on the issue of Dead or Alive Extreme 3, and for anyone that wants to buy the game, they'll be able to. I'll be buying this title out of spite for those, if given the opportunity, would ban it from being sold to the public. And let's not lose sight of the issue here. This was undeniable censorship, or at the very least an attempt at it. Yeah, the decision wasn't made by a government body, but that isn't the only kind of censorship. Not to mention that if these people had the ability to approach a government body to censor the game, they would have. Don't believe me? Look at the response this whole situation has been getting. Look at what has been said. Look at who has been lashing out at a fucking beach volleyball game. None of this for me is surprising. Anyone familiar with these ideologues knows that Dead or Alive Extreme, as a franchise, is one of the most cited games for sexism in gaming and objectification of women. Several of the people that I've covered on my own channel have named this exact franchise as misogynistic content. Before we get into an article that I want to cover, I need to lay out a few things for you guys. First, please don't mistake me as looking for figures to disagree with. I'm not lashing out in that way. I'm just sick and tired of the horse shit. I'm tired of fence sitters because more often than not, in my opinion, these people are constructing a fence for themselves to sit on as it may harm their brand to do otherwise. Second, from here on out, and this is a promise, I will refer to objectification as reification, because that is what we're talking about each and every time someone tries to avoid the link with Marxist theory. This is done out of ignorance or to avoid the negative connotation that rightly exists with Marxism. I'm not saying that Marx isn't worth reading, as I've read his works and do agree with some of his critiques regarding economics, especially, capitalism. However, there's a big difference in partially agreeing with someone's general philosophy and using a catch-all term to unequivocally obfuscate utter bullshit criticism of an artistic medium. We'll touch on this again. Third, I want all of you to keep in mind the non-responses given by some publications on the matter. While IGN was spamming the shit out of some articles, they posted this teeny-weeny stub article on the matter and left out some critical details as to why this isn't coming to the West. Although Dual Shockers is by far one of the worst actors in this, as they baited the fuck out of articles on this game in the past, but when it came to the same title being censored and withheld from the West, which is big news. Yeah, this is Dual Shockers. We're not really sure why this doesn't come to the West, but it's not anymore. It's a final decision. You just get to this real quick, and then we'll go back to the articles where we just post pictures. It's just kind of amazing to me that one website that baited the fuck out of this game, and it's clear, right? It's unabashed fucking clickbait. In the articles that you wrote for this game, you printed like a fucking dozen and a half in a few months span, but you're not willing to actually just put a single line following up as to why this game is not coming to the West, what reason they gave. You didn't put that in your fucking article. So we've looked at a couple non-responses, and there are plenty of retarded fascistic responses if you guys want to even bother reading that sort of drivel. But let's get to this article by Paul Tassi, because this is what I would qualify as an utterly embarrassing and cynical play at apologetics. It's not unusual for certain Japanese games to avoid making the jump over the Pacific to the West, but considering the Dead or Alive Extreme series has sold reasonably well overseas before, a recent decision to avoid that market has fans scratching their heads. Paul, I'm not confused as to the situation. Many publications know exactly what is happening here. As it turns out, publisher Kyo Tecmo, I know I'm butchering that, has a very special reason, and let's stop right now. Great source, by the way, Paul. In this one article, the writer justifies censorship as necessary for the inclusion of women in gaming. And I'm just going to say here, if you agree with that, man, fuck you. Leave this artistic medium behind, because you have officially joined the She-Man's art-hating club for cuckold fascists. For keeping Dead or Alive Extreme 3 out of Western markets, the recent rise of SJW criticism of modern gaming, which focuses on the treatment of women in video games. We'll skip the Facebook quote that we're all aware of. There are certainly a number of factors that go into making a decision about releasing a game overseas, including distribution, localization costs, but it's unusual to see a developer outright blame a specific group or way of thinking for keeping their game to themselves. They're not scuttling the game, Paul. It's just restricted to the nations without apologists for fascism or the pious members of the Church of Feminism. Naturally, this is the doomsday scenario for the Gamergate movement. Okay, stop. No. You're not just getting away with that. That wasn't the original intention of the hashtag. It's only moved to that issue now as many publications have already met the particular demands of Gamergate. And now censorship has grown out of control. This is something that we're dealing with now. Companies are removing shit like boob sliders out of fear of what not altering the game will bring. That's the issue at hand right now. Not last year, now. Who has long been saying that the SJW agenda has been long saying, how long has Gamergate been around, you fucking idiots, will lead to censorship. In this case, a game that prominently features swimsuit-clad women bouncing around, fighting and playing volleyball. Fighting, what? Is no longer comfortable entering the Western market because of the potential criticism they may face given how the cultural conversation has shifted. There is no cultural conversation. On one end, you have the consumers with organic demand, and on the other, you have insane Marxists. And I say that without any equivocation. These people are fucking crazy. I'm sorry, but if this is legitimately the reason for Dead or Alive Extreme 3 not coming to the West, then everyone should be upset at the publisher itself, not feminist game critics. Right and wrong. I'm not happy that the publisher has pussied out, but that fact takes nothing away from the fundamental issue as to how many people were fucking saying the polar opposite in regards to this criticism for years. It seems to me that outside of a few publications, the press at large is circling the wagons yet again around Marxist theory critique of video games. In the last few years, there certainly has been a big increase in feminism-oriented game criticism. It's nice of you to fucking admit that, which questions how women are traditionally treated in games, usually as objects to be oogled or ogled, or princesses to be rescued. And yet, throughout all that criticism, there are not calls for bans of this content. Maybe Zelda and Peach should rescue Link and Mario for a change does not equate to Super Mario and the Legend of Zelda should be stripped from store shelves. You're now in the territory of playing the apologist, Paul. Only someone in the tank or up their own ass hasn't understood what these people want. They want developers to alter their games based on ideology alone. And if they don't, their titles will be relentlessly demonized. This is a form of censorship, you fucking dunce. Sure, that doesn't mean Grand Theft Auto 5 isn't going to sell, but not every developer is Rockstar. Not every developer is Bethesda. Some people have to struggle for good press. And when people defame your artistic creation, it doesn't fucking help you. And who takes part in this? Oh, let's see, GameSpot, Polygon, IGN, Kotaku, you know, small-ass sites with no following. I'm sure the small developers are perfectly content with these totally insignificant sites relentlessly shaming and shitting on their creation. And real quick, regarding that Super Mario and Legend of Zelda fucking obfuscation you put in there, great example, because this is case in point of why these people are not legitimate critics. When you had this fucking ordeal over the female Link, nothing pleases them. And the same thing goes for a game like Dead or Alive Extreme 3. No, I'm sure the series doesn't have many feminist fans, but is there some widespread call that the game should be restricted from leaving Japan and coming to the West? Of course not. Oh no, the completely dismissive attitude and universally apologetic tone given by every single one of these fucking people, doubling down entirely on the fact that this game isn't coming to the West, doesn't indicate in any way that this is exactly what they wanted. Again, Paul, you fucking asshole, this game is one of the most cited titles in reference to misogynistic content. Instead, all the game faces is criticism. Criticism for what it is. A game primarily focused on the objectification of women and the titillation of men. New advertised features in Extreme 3 include taglines and bikini damage. Paul, there are AAA games where you play as violent men, and these titles are hated by feminists. There are AAA games where you can play as violent women, and these games are universally hated by the same feminists. There is no win factor here, Paul. Nothing pleases these people, and to pretend otherwise is to exist within a fictional universe where something, anything, will placate these mental defectives and their illegitimate criticism. Nothing pleases them. Nothing pacifies them. And the only people giving these fuckers any legitimacy is figures like you, shitheel members of the press. Gamers do not see them as legitimate critics and never will. Koei Tecmo needs to be brave enough to stand for their own product instead of shrinking away from inevitable criticism. It's only in gaming because of the ideologues, and the sooner they go, the better, because once they're gone, their pseudo-intellectual Marxist theory critique goes with them. They should say, yes, we made a game full of beautiful CGI women that will appeal to the kind of people that find that attractive. While that may not be me, I have no issue with people playing these games who either enjoy them or indeed find all these volleyball-playing, tan-line-having virtual women attractive. Yes, it's beyond a doubt pure objectification, but a developer certainly has the right to make that game. It's an innocuous piece of art, Paul. This isn't a rape hentai game, this isn't a fetish eroge, this isn't pornographic, and even if it were, stop being anti-consumer. Stop being opposed to the free market. Stop putting censorship and morality ahead of artistic freedom. Secondly, we need to broach this issue of reification in art. A model puts on the clothing of a brand, and a photographer takes her picture. That picture is put on a billboard. The model is paid, her agency is paid, the photographer is paid, the advertising firm is paid, and no one is treated as an object. If you disagree with this, Paul, then you and I are operating on different wavelengths. You're assuming things about the model, her agent, about the photographer and his company, about the advertisement, and the brand that paid all of them to help sell their product. Now we turn from reality to fiction, where we're talking not only just about art, but also characters that do not exist. Here's an example. Let's think about Junko Enoshima from Danganronpa. Now, there's a lot that can be said about her. Her looks, her personality, her genius, and insanity. But is it possible to treat her as anything more than a fictional character? No, because she's not fucking real. She was designed, crafted, and voiced by actual fucking people. There is no such thing as treating a fictional being as anything more than as a fictional being. To do otherwise is coming from a warped perspective. I cannot treat Junko well or poorly, Paul, because she doesn't fucking exist. So this is going to be the end of part 1 of my commentary covering Paul Tassi's ridiculous article on Forbes. Normally, I put up the second part the next day, but both parts are going to be going up today. So follow me on Twitter, leave a comment and all that jazz, but the second part shall be up soon. Thanks for watching.